Hi everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna. And today I'm going to share a card we made at card class a while back ago. And the subject of the class was lining our envelope. So it really wasn't about the card, although the card is beautiful. It's more about lining our beautiful envelope so that when this card gets mailed, it certainly looks like a beautiful card. The presentation is just beautiful. So I'm going to show you how to make the envelope, and then I'll put the card together really quick because it's, like I said, it's not about the card. It's all about the envelope. And the card I'm making today looks the same as this one. It's using the same designer series paper. This is from the Nature's Poem designer series paper, except I'm just using a different print. This is one of the prints that was available. So the first thing we're going to do is, I know that this card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to bring in my envelope punch board because I have to make this envelope to fit my card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look over here and I'm going to find my card. And like I said, it was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's telling me, let me bring this up so you can see it, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's telling me that I need an 8 by 8 piece of paper and that I need to make my very first score line at 3 1/2. That will all make sense when I show you what I mean. Here is my piece of paper that is 8 by 8. Now remember, it said my first score line needed to be at 3 1/2. So I'm going to bring my paper up to 3 1/2 right here, and I'm going to punch. That is the only time I need to be concerned about those numbers, and the rest is just punching and scoring. Now you'll see underneath here there is a line, there's a groove. So what I'm going to do where I've punched is I'm going to take my bone folder, which comes in this tool. You store it right here so it doesn't get lost, and I'm going to put that up against this end of where the punch is, and I'm just going to run the bone folder right down there and make a crease. Now I'm going to turn this 90 degrees, and I'm going to take this score line and I'm going to line it up with this little piece that sticks out right there. And again, I'm going to punch, and I'm going to run my bone folder across. Again, I'm going to turn, I'm going to line this score line up, and punch, and one last time, I'm going to punch and make my line. I'm going to put that aside for just a moment. Now my piece of paper looks like this, and I don't know if you can see these lines, but when I fold this up, you can see that it's already made an envelope, and it just needs to be put together. However, now you see I have this peak here. I personally don't like that peak. You can see on my envelope I've taken it off. So what I do is I bring in a little ruler and I make a line, very light line with a pencil. I bring in my paper trimmer and I just trim that little piece off because I personally don't like it. I see a lot of cards, envelopes made with that there. It's a personal preference. So I take it off. And now all I need to do is seal down my envelope. Now for us here, I'm going to just use my snail, but you may want something a little stronger, like if you still have some of the fast fuse that retired. Okay, so there is our envelope all set. Now we need to trim the top here. I'm going to bring in my envelope punch board again, and right here on the back part of it, that's actually a corner rounder, so I'm going to stick my little piece of paper in there and punch. And now I have a nice rounded corner there. So now to make my lining, I needed a piece of square paper, and I'm going to show you how I came to this number. This is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. Let me just double check I have that right. Yes, it's 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and that's what I needed for my size envelope. Now, to measure for your size envelope, what you would do is you would take a ruler and line it up. See, there's my 0 right up at the top there, and then I'm going to line it up right where this crease line is here, and I come up with 4 1/4. So I know I'm going to make my paper is going to be 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. So if this was a larger envelope and you measured from here to here and you got 5, you would use a 5 by 5 piece of paper. But in this case, it's 4 1/4, so that's what I'm going to use. So here's my 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this here and I'm going to line it up at 4 1/4 because it is 4 1/4 inches. And see here, 4 1/4, that's where I'm bringing my paper, and I'm going to punch. And I have this, and I have this. Now I want this identical punch on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my paper over. Here's my punch. I want that on this side. So I'm going to bring it over to 4 1/4. Let me show you that again. It might be a little confusing. There's my punch. I want this exact shape on this side, right across, kitty corner from it. So I'm going to turn my paper over. Okay? So now I'm working on the back side, and I'm going to turn it 90 degrees because I need that punch to be directly across from this punch. And again, I'm going to punch, line it up at 4 1/4 and punch. And as you can see, I have 2 identical cuts. So now I need to round off the top corner just like I did with this one. And these 2 little peaks here, those are going to be the bottom part of the envelope. That's going to be on the inside. See, that's going to be on the inside here. So I need to round that corner. And I'm going to turn this around and punch. And that's it. So I'm going to tuck this in here. And I'm going to line it up where I want it. Now these here, you don't want them right on that score line because when you fold it, it'll kind of stick up. So you're going to drop it down a little bit here. I hope this is in focus. Okay, I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to fold it over. After I've folded it over, I'm going to apply some snail along the peak. That's the only place, it's the only place I'm going to put. And then I'm going to bring my flap back down. And there we go. It's perfectly aligned. Now when you're sending this, got a little bit of snail there. When you're sending this off, you can, if you're hand delivering it, you can just fold it and put a nice little sticker here. Make your own with a decorative punch. If you have like a circle punch or an oval punch, punch something out nice and just tape it down there. Or you can buy, there is, I forget what company makes it, there is an envelope adhesive. You can certainly buy that and bring that down. So there is our beautiful lined envelope. And I'm going to put my card together. And this is, like I said, real simple. I have a lot of pieces of paper because you know me, I like a lot of layers. So all these measurements will be on my blog. So the first thing I have is I have a piece of designer series paper that matches my lining, and this is 2.5 by 4 3/4, and I'm going to mount that on a piece of soft suede, which is 2 5/8 by 3 7/8. There is a tiny border. And then I'm going to mount that on a piece of Whisper White that I cut at 3 3/4 by 5. And I wanted to have some dimension, so I ran it through the New Subtles embossing folder. It's a dynamic embossing folder. I don't know if that shows up on screen. So I'm going to take this And I'm going to mount that on the center of that piece. And then I'm going to mount that on a piece of Tranquil Tide, which is cut at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Again, just a tiny border. And then I'm going to mount the whole thing on my card base, which is soft suede, which coordinates with this inner mat. And this is your typical card size, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And so I have a little bow that I made with crumb cake because I didn't have any soft suede. I'm going to attach a little glue dot on it and press it down right there. So now when I send my card off, it is beautifully lined and coordinates nicely with my envelope. And when my recipient opens it, they're going to just see a beautiful card with a lovely matching envelope. And it's a presentation. And here's the other one made just with a different piece of designer series paper and using Tranquil Tide. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and certainly don't forget about your envelopes. It does make your card look so much more special. If you have any questions at all about this project or any of the products that I use, please contact me at my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com. Thanks so much, and I hope you'll come back for another tutorial soon. Bye-bye.